Hey guys, due to life happening and some technical difficulties, I know this is late, but I'm just gonna do my pretty quick review of Supergirl episode 2 of season 2 called Last Children of Krypton. So the episode starts off with Superman, Supergirl, they're flying around the city, doing stuff like putting out fires, they're stopping robberies, and they're having a good time. And I guess John Jones feel like they're kind of like lollygagging, or at least like Supergirl is doing that, and Alex is feeling ignored, and at least this whole issue where once she gets kind of pissed off when what's supposed to be Sisters Night, she invites Clark over, and then it also leads to a confrontation later when she feels like all this change is happening in her life, and she wants to go to Metropolis to hang out with Clark and help him save the city, and also because she doesn't want to be a target for people like not one but two Metallos. One's a John Corbin, is the John Corbin from the previous episode who lures them both into a trap by going on the news and looking like he's going to jump off a bridge to his death, and then he ambushes them both, in which Kara's incapacitated, like on the cover, which is supposed to be an homage to the Crisis on Infinite Earth storylines where she was killed, and so Superman has to fly her back to the DEO, even though she's able to recover fairly quickly, and John tasks Wynn with coming up with suits to protect the Kryptonians from the kryptonite radiation from the Metallos. So given that, and when Superman's fighting Metallo, he's able to find the promethium, is like the metal substance, what John Corbin's exoskeleton is made out of. And because of the successful test, the woman who just calls herself the Doctor is the reason why she has a second henchman go through the same process and become a second Metallo. And also, but getting back to Alex being ignored, she gets pissed off about Kara wanting to leave because she feels like, because Superman basically just dropped Kara off on the Danvers doorsteps and just made her their responsibility, when she feels like Clark's her cousin, she should have been the one looking after her. And she talks about how all the sacrifices she made to protect her and put her first, and like a medical career and whatnot, and just feeling like it was all for nothing. It just felt like it was kind of like for nothing if she takes off. And then when confiding in Wynn about this, Wynn just tells her, Wynn's the one that called her out, and based on his experience in foster care, after his dad was in jail, he tells Wynn, listen, family is just about showing up and being there. It's not like keeping a scorecard. And during this whole conversation, they realized the mole in the DEO who provided the kryptonite to Katniss would have kryptonite radiation on him, and so when Alex does a little like solo sting operation in which she singles out the mole and task him with moving some kryptonite. He tries to ambush him in a warehouse, but the Katniss agents end up ambushing her. And the thing is about Katniss is that, which I don't get, is that at least with villains like Non, as bland as hell as he was last season, you can at least tell like he was genuine in his cause. He genuinely believed he was trying to help the human race, save the human race from itself, despite how extreme their methods were. Here, it just seems like whoever this woman is, just calls herself the Doctor. She just seems to be like this kind of like mustache twirling villain, and might as well be like a card-carrying villain, kind of like Captain Cole on The Flash, which is a little bit jarring. But anyway, Kara ends up coming to Alex's rescue, and there's also a side story in which John Jones and Superman go to the Fortress of Solitude, and they talk about how the reason why John wants to keep the kryptonite because as a deterrent to keep humanity from suffering the same fate as the Martians did at the hands of the white Martians, where he said angry gods are the reason why people were wiped out. Like, I don't want that to happen again. And Superman says that he doesn't hate John for that, for keeping kryptonite. He just doesn't trust him. He says you can't offer friendship in one hand and kryptonite in the other. And even though, like, in their earlier fight, when it almost like they're gonna come to blows physically, at least, that John points out that they needed the kryptonite in order to stop Astro and Non last year, and that how he was powerless to stop Myriad, and he was incapacitated. And so it's like, I don't understand like why Superman would still be so stubborn about and understand, like, you know, her and Kara are not the only Kryptonians. There are other, like, you know, they could be like other Kryptonians like Non and Astra who just want to like take over and become threats. So it just feels like, I don't know why they fell on deaf ears, and why by the end of that episode, like, he took the whole stockpile of kryptonite that the DEO had and stashed it somewhere. But I don't know. As much as, I mean, like I said, I like this actor Tyler Hoechlin. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but he's the best Superman since Christopher Reeves. He's so good that I could see him like headlining his own series, or at least getting a multi-show contract like Wentworth Miller and John Barrowman and Katie Cassidy did for all four of the DCCW shows, because at least I hope he's going to be a recurring character on at least this show, if anything, and maybe that will come back into play at some point. And basically on the Catco front, Snapper Carr's hired to run the investigative reporting division of Catco by Cat Grant, and basically because Kara doesn't have any credentials, she missed a meeting because she was out on a mission. Snapper Carr just basically just fires her and tells her that she doesn't work in the division. And Kara goes to Cat to get it to do something about it, and Cat firmly says, "No, I can't fight your battles for you. I keep telling you you're talented. You gotta stick up for yourself." And it also drops a bomb saying that she's taking a sabbatical, and she's been working in this industry for so long. She just needs to get out into the world and explore and get a change of venue. Although the real reason is because Callista Flockhart did not want to move to Vancouver when production of the show moved to Vancouver after the network switch. So, this shouldn't be the last we're seeing of Cat Grant. She might come back as a recurring character, or at least come back in like the back half of the season. And but it's something it's gonna be sorely missed, because you really did grow attached to that whole mother-daughter relationship that Cat had with Kara, even though she kind of came across as a very icy personality. You can tell that she cared, and it was all a place of tough love for Kara, and she was just trying to push her to be better as herself, and also unintentionally as Supergirl, which I know, I swear she has to know, because she put two and two together earlier in season 1, before John Jones tried to disguise herself as Supergirl and be in the same room with Kara in her civilian disguise, and she also knew who Barry Allen and the Flash were one and the same during that crossover. So I feel like she's just playing dumb and just feeling like she's trying to respect Kara's wishes of not trying to push the idea, even though she tries to she tries to just get her to disclose what her real name is, and Supergirl doesn't fall for it. But I mean, the whole last season proved that she's not an idiot or falls for these typical like story cliches of like the dual identity stuff. Like, she's smart enough to know who Kara is. But anyway, the Snapper car replacement, I guess he's supposed to be like the Perry White-esque character, but basically he just seems like a kind of really sleazy with the whole like scratch, picking stuff out of his tooth and looking grumpy and just looking like he's the kind of guy who would just like sit on the couch scratching his balls and just drinking a beer and then yelling at his wife if dinner's ready yet. But then Kara is eventually able to stand her ground by providing a news article about. I think it's about the Metallo attack. I'm not sure, but basically, Snapper agrees to give her a chance, and the only thing that goes on with James Olsen is that he becomes Cat's replacement, is now running CatGo. But probably the most epic thing about in the episode is when John Corbin Metallo is acting as a diversion, and the second Metallo is attacking Krypton Park in Metropolis. It leads to this kind of like this cool like 2-on-1 battle in both Metropolis and National City with Superman and Martian Manhunter versus the second Metallo, and then Supergirl and Alex in her Kryptonian battle armor that she got from the 2-part season finale, fighting that Metallo, and it kind of there's like jump cuts back and forth between the two fights, and and of course they're wearing like Kryptonian like shields, the last children, the Kara and Clark, to protect them from the kryptonite radiation, even though they seem to specifically aim right at the chest instead of like any part of their bodies that's not protected by it. Whatever. Anyway, cool ass fight. I think it was good to have them. I liked how they were paired up with how the pair ups, because like we've always seen Superman and Supergirl teaming up throughout this 2-parter, and it was nice that they were paired off with John Jones and Alex respectively, since they're the people they have strained relationships with, and so the fact that they're working together against these two foes, it makes a lot of sense, and naturally they're eventually defeated, and of course Superman takes off with a stockpile of kryptonite and goes back to Metropolis, and hopefully that's not the last we've seen of him. So overall, a stellar episode. I loved it. I mean, so far this is like already blowing this season 1 out of the water, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of what's to come on this show. But I guess the biggest, especially since this episode ended with Mon-El waking up from his coma and choking Supergirl. So, what do you guys think of the episode? What do you think of Tyler Hoechling's Superman? What are you excited to see this season? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.